All right. We're live. It's official. All right. Welcome back to Skin Talk. Today we're going to do a SKINBIZ layout on YouTube Live. It's our first YouTube Live, and we have Dawn with us, and I'm so excited. So for SKINBIZ, for the podcast that we have, for those that don't know, we have a podcast called SKINBIZ Podcast. My name is Julie Grosso. This is Dawn, and we're going to do an intro with Dawn. She is our Texas State educator, and we're going to do that same layout that we have for our SKINBIZ podcast, we're going to do for our YouTube Live today. So we can kind of get to know Dawn. We're going to ask her 5 questions, and then she's going to give us a skin tip, an entrepreneur tip, and she's going to shout out another professional in our industry. So without further ado, welcome, Dawn.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Yeah, happy 2026. I know this is our first time talking in the new year. Well, let's give an intro before we get right into the 5 questions and just let everybody know a little bit about you, where they can follow you, and kind of give some of everybody a little bit of a backstory about who you are.
Absolutely. So my name is Dawn Evans-Stake. I am in the Austin, Texas area, and I have been a esthetician for a little over 10 years. Kind of surprising that it's been that long, but it seems like yesterday some days. I focus primarily on acne and anti-aging. So my clients that come to see me are really either trying to start their anti-aging or they haven't done anything. I don't really have that in between. It's either that vast,
Yeah.
I'm trying to start it, or I should have done this 20 years. Yeah. And then acne, it's any phases of acne. So I have a lot of clients right now that are dealing with dry skin with acne. So getting them into how do you take care of that in the winter. But I'm trying to think what else. It's I have a mobile part to my business as well as a studio part. So lots of fun spa parties, bachelorette parties, things like that we do.
And where are you located, and where can everyone follow you?
So located, I have a studio in Austin, and I have a studio in the suburb called Pflugerville. So being able to see people in 2 different areas. And then they can follow me at Synergy Skincare Spa on Instagram and Synergy Skincare Mobile Spa on Facebook.
Hey. And we're going to get obviously into the questions. So would you like to go first with asking questions, or do you want me to go? I'm going to leave it up to you. In the new year, you are in charge, not me.
I am good with you going first. No problem.
Okay, so my first question for you is, let's get right into ingredients and let's just dive right into it. I know it's hard to pick a favorite ingredient, so I'm not going to say pick one favorite ingredient because it's just rude to say that. I couldn't answer that. But why don't you shout out an ingredient that you're really liking right now, or that just the first thing that kind of comes to your mind? What ingredient are you wanting to shout out this month in particular? Why? And then let everyone know what products they can buy that have that ingredient in it. And the floor is yours on ingredients.
So my favorite product this month is going to be the HA peptide mask. And it's got a couple in there. It's not just one. So that would be the reason that I would say pick that one off the top, because it's got the ceramides in it, it's got the peptides in it, and it's got the HA. You also have the exfoliating bits, so it's really great at this time of the year for dry skin. For those of us that have a little bit of the oily skin, it helps us too with the rebalancing, just because the weather is changing back and forth, especially here in Texas. So that oil control is really big. And then my drier clients are really enjoying it because their skin is staying a lot more hydrated longer.
Yes. And the beads she's referring to are bamboo beads, and they're antimicrobial. But what's great is that there's just a little bit in there that helps slough off that dead skin. So you shed, I think it's 40 million dead skin cells a day, if I'm not mistaken. Feel free to fact check me, but it's about 40 million a day that we shed. So obviously that's a lot. Our house is literally full of it. I think I read the fact that it's like 90% of our household or something is mostly dead skin. So not to be gross, but yay, all that dead skin is just sitting on the top layer of our epidermal layer, and it ends up irritating the skin. And so she was talking earlier about her clients that have acne and that are drier, and that's really common, especially right now. And what you can look out for is, although by definition, every type of breakout by definition has the same definition, right? It's a break in the follicle wall, it's an overproduction of sebum, it's an overproduction of dead skin. It has inflammatory molecules, and then it causes inflammation, and C. acne bacteria is formed. So that's the definition. The only difference is blackheads oxidize, and that's literally the only other difference. But if you were to look at a breakout, they all look different. And that's where clients get really confused, or new professionals in the industry, is that they physically look different. So it throws people off. And right now in particular, if she's seeing a lot of clients that are drier, she's probably noticing the breakouts that have more dead skin buildup than they do oil. So they all have the same definition, but some lean towards having more of an oil problem. And that's when it's like more of that yellow kind of tacky, like the juicy ones, I would say, the ones that we all like as estheticians. Those ones are more yellow toned. That means there's an overproduction of oil. So that's, you know, maybe something they ate. That's a trigger topically. We can kind of dive into that later. But dead skin buildup, you're going to see more white. So you're going to see that white portion a little bit more than yellowing, and not as much wet sebum, and a little bit harder, and a lot more dead skin buildup would make it look more white. So obviously all the breakouts look different, but that will also teach you when you start to learn, especially as an esthetician. Dawn's gone through all of our certifications. Once you learn how to identify what is what, it helps you figure out, okay, this client is irritated by dead skin because of how dry she is. And that's why we have white breakouts, right? So then therefore we're going to do the peptide mask maybe 5 times this week because it's winter. But you can identify what the trigger is by looking at the breakout, because the breakout will look a little bit different. So although by definition the breakouts are the same, minus blackheads oxidizing, we are going to notice a difference with what is that trigger, and that helps us a lot to identify. And of course, once we figure out what their trigger is, that helps us tremendously when it comes to acne. And then second question for you, and for those that are joining, we have Dawn here. She's our Texas State educator. So we're doing a SKINBIZ layout, which is like our podcast. So we're doing 5 questions with Dawn, and then she'll have 5 questions for me. And then we have skin tips and entrepreneur tips and shout outs of other professionals to follow. So second question is, what does your week look like as an entrepreneur / educator in this industry?
So my week starts off with typically on Sundays and Mondays are my admin days. If I'm doing anything on a Sunday, it's just kind of preparing for a Monday and getting everything together with who do I need to follow up on because I saw them on Saturday or Friday. Sending out a newsletter, typing up responses, reaching out to anyone that I have met within that last week about coming in and getting a treatment or at least a consultation. Lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of follow-up, lots of follow-up. So, and then looking at what are the latest trends, what's going on, what do I need to look at, you know, in the next month or so to prep for weather, things like that, clients may be battling with.
Yeah, a lot of marketing hat, then service provider hat, marketing hat, service provider hat. That's the one thing I think all of us did not realize what we were getting ourselves into. Maybe nowadays, everyone knows what they're getting themselves into. But before social media obviously gained a lot of traction, which I would say, honestly, like 2015, 16 is really like the kind of beginning years of Instagram businesses really kind of going at it on social media. It's changed obviously so much. So providers that have been, you know, in the industry for a long time did not know they have to wear the hat. I would say we've prepped everybody better now. Now we're like, be prepared that it's not just a skin hat that you have to wear, which I wish it was, that's all it was. But marketing is a big part of it, right? You won't be able to be great at skin unless you're great at marketing and see a ton of people in a bunch of different skin conditions and a bunch of Fitzpatricks, right? So next question for you is, what trends should we leave? So you just mentioned trends. What trends should we leave behind in 2025? Do any come to mind that you're like, we are good on keeping that in the last year?
Yeah, you know, I think the biggest one for me is dermaplaning, and I know people love it.
Oh,
Yeah,
I love this controversy. Bring it.
yeah,
Right?
yeah, because we have so many other ways to exfoliate our skin without using that as a tool. And I think it comes down to educating the client,
Yeah.
because when they don't know how to properly cleanse, if they buy one or they get one offline or something, then they're causing more damage and harm to their skin because they see it as a trendy thing or they think they need it and they don't.
Yeah.
So that's one of the biggest things I would say leave behind.
That is very controversial of you to
It
say
is.
as an esthetician. You know, they're struggling right now to hear this. I kind of like that. Well, one, I just like any controversy because I think it's good. I think if we're all thinking the same, something's quite wrong with everyone if we think exactly the same. But I do have moments where I'm like, I'm into this, but I can see all the negatives from it. To say
Mhm.
that it doesn't create a better environment for acne would be a lie. It does, because now everything, it's just like if you were to get a facial,
Yeah.
now all that dead skin is gone. And now you're
Mhm.
out in the world. So people blame us naturally. They're like, okay, well, the only thing unique about my routine this week was that I got a facial. So if I have a problem, I'm going to blame it on that, which is totally possible. But it's also entirely possible that you have to treat your skin very differently now that you just took off multiple layers of dead skin. And now that everything is very exposed. And we know that the hair follicle goes all the way to the dermis, which is our thickest layer out of all the layers of skin. I think it's what, 70% of it is the dermis. And so the hair follicle goes right down to the bottom. So if we're, and I know we're not pulling it out, it's not a laser or anything, but if we're messing with the hair follicle in any capacity, just like with waxing, just like with shaving, just like with lasers, if just really any sort of manipulation on the hair follicle, especially if it's not a permanent one,
Yeah.
we would notice a reaction because the skin is going to behave differently. Now it doesn't have basically this barrier and army of dead skin and hair protecting that epidermal layer. That's literally why it's there. So I think it's a totally acceptable thing to say that you're not into it. It's just funny because a lot of people are very, very, very into dermaplaning. It's their existence and it's their life. But there's also a lot of states that they can't even do it, which I find very interesting. What are the laws and rules in Texas on dermaplaning?
So we can do it under a medical direction or delegation.
Interesting.
So yeah. So as long as I have a medical director, and I've worked with one, and I've seen clients, and I've sent those clients to that MD to look at their skin, and they're just like, why? And I'm like, it's
Yeah.
overexfoliation. We're now creating a skin barrier issue because we're saying it's okay. And yes, we have the knowledge to fix it, but if they leave us and not understanding why we're doing that for them, then we're now creating an issue. And that's kind of where I go back and forth with, it's great if it's really needed, but is it?
Yeah. Same with extractions. You know, I always
Yeah.
say about extractions because yes, you know, I can sit for hours and do them. And I have with many clients, especially non-inflamed, requires the most amount of time
Yeah.
extracting. But there's a right way to do it. There's a wrong way to do it. And also, how are you any better than the client that's picking? You can't tell the client not to pick at home and then you do it in the treatment room essentially the same way, but maybe a little bit cleaner. We have to be very, very, very careful with how we do it, right? We
Yep.
want to be super, super careful. Yeah, I really like that. That's a good one. And then fourth one, what would you like to see in this industry change? If anything, which I mean, if anything is silly, there's a million things we could change. What is one thing that comes to mind that you're like, I just really wish it wasn't like this?
Um, I think as a core and as a whole, estheticians are getting better at supporting each other and understanding that we are a village and we do better when we support each other as opposed to competing and competition. I mean,
Mhm.
competition is natural, but you're your own competition. So focus on you, helping each other, just basic rules of what you learned in kindergarten, play well with others and be kind.
Yeah.
So continuing to get rid of the cattiness and the, oh, I don't like her because she did this, or when it's, you're actually jealous because she's doing something you wish you could do. Learn from the person.
Is something coming to mind?
No,
Because you're in a
no, no,
different,
no.
so you're in a different position now, right? So give people context. You own your own business. You actually have two
Yeah,
businesses. You have your brick and mortar and you have your mobile business. And you're totally right. We all see the Facebook groups. They go crazy. And on Instagram. I feel like last year there was like 100 fights on Instagram within our
yeah.
industry. Um, But is there, or I guess I should say, is there any specific scenario? You don't have to like name a name and name a date and, you know, give us the receipt, but is there a scenario that you can be specific with so people understand? Because I think also sometimes people don't understand that there is a problem that they're creating.
So to come on to Facebook or to Instagram and or YouTube or any kind of, social media and not prepare people for the struggle that you had in building your business and helping them to understand that there is one, that's what happens, that unless you have a group of investors that brought you up, you had to build. It wasn't overnight. It
Yeah.
wasn't an overnight success, but to make it seem like that is, I've seen a lot of besties do that. And they kind of hide behind the fact that they had this great push of
Yeah.
money. And it's
Yeah.
like, you didn't build your business that way. Be
Yeah.
authentic, be honest.
Yes. No, I like that. That's a good one. Because I personally feel like when I decided to start educating at the international shows, one, I felt like I always wanted to do it, but I was like, I just don't feel like, I always felt like I'm not there, even though I would be an educator in the industry
Mhm.
already. For me to feel like I could do a international show made me feel like personally, I have not learned enough yet. And I have been in the industry since 2007 and 8. So, a long time. But I felt like I wasn't ready for a really long time until I honestly learned from all my mistakes. That's what I've always taught on. I'm like, let me just tell you all the things to not ever do that I've already done. So you don't make that same mistake and waste a ton of money. Cause I've done it for you. And that's honestly like my favorite thing to tell people. Because some things are like a science in our industry. Some things are very similar in regards to how we function, how we operate with marketing and things of that nature. And we all carry very similar things ish. Yes, you can go different ways, but, there is a point where you want to be really honest about the struggles, like you said, so people can actually learn. But that's just not some people's, maybe that's just not their style. Maybe that's not their algorithm, is to be honest. I don't know. That's the only way I know how, is I feel like I can teach you once I've failed 700 times, then I'm absolutely ready to teach you so you don't make the same mistake. Okay, last question for you is, what are your goals for yourself as an entrepreneur, as an educator, but also how you're going to have better work-life balance? I obviously know you very well, and some of our professionals do as well. So I know what your 2025 was like, but we get this question a lot, is, how do you balance? And my answer has always been, I don't. And so I would like to hear how you're planning on balancing for 2026.
So for 2026, it is going to be incorporating more automation into my business. And so I have a technology background. Before I became an SD, I was an IT program manager for 20 years. And so I feel like I need to get back into that just the tiniest bit and bring technology truly more into my business so that I can step back and not be so all hands on. And I have, people that help and do things, but I feel automation would help them as well. So stepping back into that and giving myself a little bit more freedom to choose what I want to spend my time on is how I'm planning for 2026.
What a techie answer. It's so, you make me laugh because Taylor was just practicing. My husband's name is Taylor, for those who don't know. And he's in tech, and you were in IT before. You had a whole different life before being in this industry. And you just make me laugh because yesterday he was practicing like a speech that he was going to give in a presentation. And that was a big goal, was to talk about AI for 2026 and how we're going to have things more automated for the businesses that use the product and everything. So it makes me laugh because you would say that. And also it's a great answer. And we do need to do that because that helps you with balance, right? But this just makes me, it's a pyramid scheme. There's no pyramid scheme. No pyramid scheme. No, that would be, what are those brands called that are pyramid schemes? Help me. Rodan and Fields, that's a pyramid scheme. What else is a pyramid scheme?
Oh, just companies that take your money
Mona
and they
V.
try to invest it, yeah, and tell you you're gonna get a return. We're estheticians, so we're
Yeah.
not doing any type of pyramid
We work
scheme,
on
sorry.
we work on real human faces. every single day. And we educate internationally. So welcome to the show. It's called Skin Talk. All right, now your questions, I will let you go.
Absolutely. So my question for you is going to be, beyond the products and the professional treatments, what do you think is the most impactful thing we can do for our clients?
Sorry, say the first part of the question again.
Beyond
I was really
products.
stuck on the pyramid scheme because the definition of a pyramid scheme would be that you sell to someone else and then they sell to someone else. Continue.
No, no worries. So beyond products and professional treatments that we offer our clients, what would you consider something else to be more impactful in helping our clients to achieve their goals?
I always think it's really important to just give free advice before you sell anything to them, hence the conversation we're just having now. But before you sell anything to them, whether that's the service itself or products itself, you should be immediately going into education as you're getting answers back from whatever their skin conditions are. So you might say, okay, what are you eating every day? And just gathering information and data. The more data you have, the easier it is for you to figure out what product does she need, what service does she need, what are her triggers, what should she stay away from, what produces more oil in the body, what produces more dead skin on the epidermal layer, right? So the more questions we ask, the more information we get, so we can give a better answer to them on what their layout is. But I always give a lot of links for free. Like, here's this link, follow this, here's this link, it's stay away from these ingredients. So just free general advice that has nothing to do with our product that we're carrying or we're selling, or the service that you're selling or offering. Just truly information about, okay, you are this Fitzpatrick, you need to be careful with X, Y, and Z. Or you are this skin condition, or you have this type of acne, so we should look into, are you using pore cloggers? Are you eating food that produces more oil in the body, right? So are you using things that have a lot of iodine in it? Are you using, are they eating fish, eggs, shellfish, milk, cheese? Like, all these things are triggers for acne, right? So we kind of dive into all those things, and just free education, I think, is essential, is to give a ton of free education before you dive into all those things. And you keep doing it. You do it before you sell something, you do it in between, you do it if they still say no. I still give them everything. I still treat them as if they're spending $1 million. You still give them the education, because that's what you came here to do, right? Is to give them education on, they asked you how to get rid of something or how to help with something. That's your job, to tell them how to do it, right? A doctor still tells you everything you need to do. It's up to the patient to go to CVS, get the, prescriptions and do all the things or whatever the recommendations are. But we still should give the advice regardless. And I think following up with clients is essential, because they do forget all the things we talk about in the room. It's only 60 minutes, at max, that we're in the treatment room with clients. And so I think it's really important to be really, really thorough with just giving a ton of free education for that particular Fitzpatrick, for that particular skin condition, and whatever it is that they're going through.
Thank you. So my next question would be for the new SD that's coming out. If Julie, the business owner and the SD now, could talk to Julie, the starting out SD, what advice would she give to her?
It's been a weird couple of years. We know a lot about each other. We've gone through a lot in this last year, and I think that changes you. So I will say that I learned the best the hard way. So I don't think I would change anything. And I think telling my prior self would mean that I would then avoid certain things. And I think that's the only way I personally learn, is just, my mom always said that. And my dad, like, when I was a lot younger, they would always be like, why do you have to learn the hardest way? I'm like, it's just, I need to figure it out this way. I need to figure it out for myself. So I don't operate that way, but I guess really just like making sure the balance, because I don't know balance, and I definitely did not know balance before. I still struggle with that a lot. But balance is a struggle for me, because I typically work better if I have 100 projects going on at the same time. And that is a challenge, because nothing matters more than your family and those relationships that you have. This industry will be here forever. You will always be able to work. There's nothing but plenty of clients for all of us. But if you kill yourself, quite literally, end up in the hospital from how much work you're doing in a short period of time, it's not worth it at all. And then it's not this industry that we say is so easy and the best job ever, right? And so that's the hard part about being an entrepreneur. But being an esthetician and not owning your own business, I would just say keep your head down. Stop worrying about everybody else. I never had that problem. I always focused on myself and my own clientele. But I've always seen a ton of estheticians get really in the weeds about what everybody else is doing. So meaning if they were employees and they didn't own their own business, and they were going into the industry, working for someone else, some estheticians and nurses and doctors have a really hard time focusing on themselves. And if you put so much energy into focusing on everybody else's clients and the money that they're making and all the stuff that's going on with somebody else, then that's time taken away from your own clients, your own opportunities, your own money you could be making. So I think everyone should just stay in their lane. But entrepreneurs, I would say, don't overwork yourself, because you will end up sick from it, literally sick, very sick. So be careful. And it's easy to do that as an entrepreneur, because you're like, well, I have to, everything's on me, right? So I have to do this today. But you don't literally have to, and you don't want to die early. So I would say figure out how to balance and go back to whatever Dawn said she's going to do for balancing, which is to use more AI.
Yes, for sure. So what would be a advanced training or certification that you would recommend for someone to get in 2026?
I like our 5-hour peel training and the anti-aging acne specialist, because they're the longest, and being able to talk longer is better for me, because I can't quite possibly tell you what skin conditions are and Fitzpatrick's are and how ingredients work and how they're formulated and where raw materials come from in 1 hour. I just can't do it.
Nope.
And it's also a collaboration of questions back, right? And that's what training is, okay, I'm now quizzing you after this small section. So let's talk about it and let's walk through it. Do you even understand what I'm saying to you, versus assuming, like talking straight, I think, for 7 hours and not letting someone be involved in that process. But you could give insight to that. You've taken some of our certifications. What do you feel? What would be your answer? I'm going to give it back to you.
I would say the definitely getting the acne and starting there with the acne training, because if having acne and thinking that you know it, it completely changes what you thought you knew about acne, and adding much more, if you like to geek out about it and you like the science and understanding the structure behind it or the medical, you really go there and help with that understanding. Because like I said, I've been doing this for 10 years, and I've learned things that I didn't know I needed to know with treating acne.
Yes. And a lot of that is like, someone asked me, where do you get all this? Well, one, like life, right? I've been in the industry for a long time. So there is just life experience with all the brands I've worked for. I love, and I'm very grateful for. So I've worked with Perricone. In the very beginning years, they were huge on acne. They were one of the biggest companies. They talked about salmon a lot, and they talked about diet for the first time. They had neuropeptides, which is a big deal. So peptides send message, they're like cell to cell communication. So we create them in a lab. So when you see peptides, you know that they're safe for all skin conditions, all Fitzpatrick's. There's usually a hydrating element to them, and then they're all unique. Some add more protein to the body, some boost collagen, elastin. It just depends on the peptide. And neuropeptides send messages to the brain to do a certain function. And they're just a more elite peptide in regards to anti-aging and elasticity. And that was like back in 2007, 8, 9, 10. And I was a top seller for them. And I learned a lot from them. And they were way before. Same with Murad in the very beginning. Again, these companies, some of them have been bought out, right? So I'm dating myself here, but he started with his like little food pyramid and talked about how eating your water is more important than drinking it, which I really loved. And so these are like founding fathers. Dermalogica, also founding father in the beginning, or founding godmother in the beginning. She really worked her butt off. I highly encourage everyone to go listen to how I built this with Dermalogica. She called the California State Board and just said, give me the addresses and numbers to every esthetician that's licensed in California. And she just did hard, aggressive work to reach out to them and say, hey, I want to give you education. You know, are you interested? And that's how she built her brand. That's a big part of her story. And so I've learned from all these companies. I could list a million more, but I've learned from so many of these different companies. And then also my business we were really great at marketing. So we saw a ton of people, and that was really helpful to be able to see tens and tens of thousands of different Fitzpatrick's, different skin conditions, different lifestyle. That really helped me learn a lot. And now I totally forgot what the question is because I just went on.
It's okay. It was about what would you recommend for the advanced training or certifications? And so you did answer the question.
Okay, great. I answered it and then some. Shocking.
That's not at all. That's almost like, oh yeah, no. I know, but I'm also laughing because I'm like, my next question is very similar to something you've already asked me. So I'm like, can you guys tell we work together?
Oh, totally. That's why it's better to do a live with you. I'm like, she already knows. She'll help guide the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, it's never a dull moment. And we have talked about acne a lot. So that's always my next question was about to go into the products and the other skin conditions that we treat, being rosacea and uh oh my goodness, being one of
Hyperpigmentation, anti-aging, acne imposters.
rosacea was the biggest one for me. So a lot of clients will come in thinking that they have rosacea. How do you encourage us, or when you've done some of our trainings and working with a client with rosacea, helping them to understand the difference between rosacea versus just
Redness.
inflammation? Yes.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is, so number one, you're not going to have signs of rosacea in like 90% of cases or more, unless you're in your 30s, and 30s is when it starts. So it would be like for little thread veins in the cheeks, the nose, the chin, and the forehead. So in that order, you'll see cheeks and nose first, typically like the inner nose here, and then cheeks in here, you'll see broken capillaries, then the chin comes, then the forehead. So those come a little bit later in life. You'll ask them about triggers. Typically this person is going to be regularly doing a trigger. So it's not like, oh, I drank alcohol last week and now I have thread veins. It doesn't work like that. It's something that you would have regularly, but you can get rosacea from not just your grandparents or someone in your family. So that's the most common reason we all practically know. But there's other ways that you can get it, which would be skin peptides, skin mites, pylori bacteria, so a stomach issue, which is very common in your 20s clients. So if you have a client in her 20s, or she's just pretty young and you're like, seems kind of weird for her to have this because really they don't show signs until their 30s, then you know that it's probably a gut problem. And so that would be not their DNA, but something that's outside causing an influence. And then also, like vascular problems also can cause it. So there are a couple other ways that you can get it besides having it in your DNA. And so thread veins first on the cheeks, the nose, the inner nose would be the first sign. Then their 30s. So if they're in their 20s, you can tell that pylori bacteria might be an issue. Again, we're not doctors. We're not going to, tell someone they're diagnosed with something, but it's just good to give them as much information as possible. But the only way you can do that is if you ask a ton of questions. And I think the biggest mistake estheticians make is they just don't ask a lot of questions. I mean, I've had hundreds of employees, and I know that the biggest mistake that they make is they didn't ask enough questions. Like there's never enough questions, like millions of questions about their lifestyle, their past, what's going on right now, what they're taking, what they've used, what they've reacted to in the past. The more information you have, the better. But if you don't see a thread vein on the cheeks, inner nose first, and it's just flushed in red, yes, they can still use the same products. BioCell, red light therapy, hydrating products, inflammatory products are all great. But at the end of the day, a thread vein is what makes it officially rosacea. And so those are some good signs to figure out if that is someone who has it. But ask a lot of questions and you'll end up having your answer. And just know that it's not always your DNA. And I think That's a big one people don't realize is they're like, oh, well, my client is a Fitzpatrick 4 and she said her grandparents don't have it. So it must not be that, or, whatever the case may be. So it's definitely possible for a higher Fitzpatrick to get it. You don't know in Fitzpatrick wise, you don't know which cell is going to come out in their, or what DNA is going to come out in their skin cells, right? So same with their melanin, we don't know what's going to come out. So just because someone may appear lighter or darker in skin tone doesn't change the fact that they can and cannot get rosacea. It doesn't change the fact that they can be more sensitive to skin or not. We don't know which part, which grandparent, which aunt, which uncle is going to show through in your melanocytes, in your skin cells, with rosacea, with your veins and your vascular issues. So lots of questions. Ask a lot of questions.
Yeah, my intake form is 5 pages. And my
Yes.
clients always get on to me about why it's so long, but I'm like,
Yeah.
it's to
They get
help
annoyed.
you. Yeah, I'm like, because I know by the time you come in here, you're not going to remember what you put down, but we go over it as I'm doing the facial. I don't spend, the 30 minutes going over it, but it's important because that helps you to prepare. So the more you know, it's the better off you are in treating their skin.
Agreed.
So with that, treatments. So when you were treating clients more in the treatment room, what was your favorite treatment or service to perform?
It's still peels and microneedling and peels together. I would say are like the top two. That is why I created a peel, because it was my favorite thing to also do on myself. More importantly than in the room. In the room, I could get into like any vibe, especially towards the end of me being in the treatment room, like 24/7, because I wasn't in it every single day. So I got to kind of pick and choose, which was nice that I got to enjoy it. I think sometimes people get in their ruts. Actually, it's a fact. We all get in our ruts. I watch it happen with every esthetician. They get in their ruts, even though they're like, buy me this laser machine. And then I give them a laser machine. They're like, I just don't want to work today. I bought this laser machine literally for you, but okay, I don't even like lasers. So for me, I don't have time for anything else. I don't really like anything else that much. And I made the XPeel 5 because I personally always do peels. That was always like my secret weapon, which is why we put spot treatment peels on our menu, was so people could come in between appointments and just quickly spot treat something. Why would I give them 20 extra unnecessary products and have them layer more when they could just come in for a quick treatment or a more effective product? Which now I've heard, obviously, we have like the XPeel 5 booster. Other companies are copying that methodology and giving people like at-home peels and things of that nature. Because why? Why are we diluting something and then making them have 20 steps? I just don't understand the 300 step thing. Yes, some of my clients have a lot of products, but I've never said like do 30 steps in a row. Anyone who has truly had chronic acne knows that that's like the worst thing you could actually do to a skin condition anyways, is layering too many products. So mask more, layer less is kind of our motto. And not having 100 products on the face at the same time. But that was like, I don't know. I kind of answered it and then I went in a circle again.
No. That was it, because a lot of times when you're trying to find your way as an esthetician, you don't know what you like. And
Mhm.
so it's, how do you find that? And
Yeah.
once you do find it, what is it?
Yeah.
Because I love peels.
Me too. And
I'm a peel collector.
they're always really, they're really effective. Now, what I hate about it is that we call it all the same thing. And that's why we called ours XPeel 5. I like that Perfect Derma Peel says Perfect Derma Peel. I like when companies do that, because at least we can tell the difference between what they are. Because to the client and to the newer professional, it's very confusing, because it's like, oh, I don't do peels. Or I've heard estheticians say like, oh, I don't do peels, or I don't do peels at this season, right? I'm like, that's such a broad statement. That's like saying I don't do facials and you're an esthetician. It doesn't even make any sense. So I hate that we use that word because it confuses everybody. But at the end of the day, what's done is done. That's what we call it. And that is what they are. They are chemical acids. They're all just so different. And that's why I like them, because they're all so different. And I like that we don't live in a time frame where I could not have grown into this industry in the 90s. Like that would have really bothered me, that damage was like the trend. That is what the vibe is the more damaged you look, the more red you look, the more that your skin looks like it's falling off, that is when you know that the product is good. Like that makes no sense to me. I can't comprehend that. First was, especially now that I formulate products, I'm like, it makes, and it's always never made any sense to me. That's why X formulations exist in the first place, is because I never understood why there was no post-care company. I thought it was very strange that we had all these companies and no post-care. Like there should be a million post-care companies. And it's not about that for most skincare lines. They're just about how many SKUs can I put out? How many new products can I put out in 2026 to increase, my revenue? But if that's not what's good for skin, it doesn't make sense to me. So that's probably the hard part about being an esthetician, being someone who's worked with lots of different skin conditions and Fitzpatrick's, and been really involved in the process, is I struggle with that part of it, because I can't make stuff just to make stuff. I get asked that a lot. Can you just make this? You need to make this. You need to make this one. You make this product. Make a lip. Make a scrub. Make a moisturizer. I'm like, I'm not gonna do it. Like it would be really hard for me to just make a new product unless I really believed in it. And I'm kind of good. Like I don't need to rewrite and, reinvent the wheel here. I've already done it. I'm not saying that something can't possibly come in the future, but it's definitely not how we operate. And that's how every other brand operates. And I think that says a lot, is you should consider, if every brand operates on, okay, how many SKUs are we putting out in 2026 and how much marketing money are we putting out towards that? So then consider what their money's going towards. And that's what their money is going towards.
Yeah, because you definitely spend more of your time on education and making sure that we have what we need to know what we do is good for the client, not just how do I make money and push this product on them, but why am I treating their concern with their first and their primary and secondary concerns with the products that we have? What is the impact to their skin on that, and how is this going to help them to overcome this as they move forward with their skin? So yeah.
And there's so many lies in the US, unfortunately, are not that it would matter, right? You could argue that having FDA regulation, I could argue both sides, right? Of course, but having no regulation at all also makes it like the wild, wild west. Yeah. So these companies that I've seen their boxes at trade shows. I've seen what it looks like inside. Like I've worked with these companies very closely, all the competitors in the skincare industry, in the professional skincare industry space. And it's wild. It's a wild world. So in the United States, for example, we don't have to say when there's multiple ingredients that make an ingredient. So to give you guys an example, Matrolox CA0019 or 009, I'm blanking on my number, but that's our raw material for azelaic acid. So you guys know it as azelaic acid, which is how we know it when we buy the raw materials. It comes in a powder form. So you obviously don't have a powder form, right? You guys just get a chemical peel and it says, or a product and it says it has azelaic in it. Well, it's actually a powder. So it takes multiple ingredients to make it. Or sometimes there's ingredients within ingredients to preserve the ingredient. Like in cucumber water, there's ingredients to preserve the cucumber water. Legally in the US, you don't have to disclose any of that. Also in our industry it's funny. They'll like give you like, what do you call it? Like giving people carrots. Like they'll give people carrots and they'll be like, oh yeah, everything in the back, if it's from top to bottom, that means it's the highest percentage to lowest. Well, like not really though. So the law is, even though there's no real law, but like the recommendation, because no one's checking anything, only sunscreen is regulated and barely at that. And so if you are to have your ingredients on the back, number one, you don't have to put them all in there. So all of a sudden you don't even know what's in there. And if there's a pore clogger in there and they remove it because because there was phenoxyethanol in the cucumber water, they can remove that. They don't need to put that in there. It was just a recommendation to put them on there in the first place. And they most certainly, only EU standards is put every ingredient on the back. We follow that because it does matter to some skin conditions. It technically matters to everybody. A toxic ingredient is irritating to all skin conditions. However, it's most certainly imperative for acne, acne imposters, rosacea, acne, rosacea clients. So we have to be super, super careful with them. And so technically the rule is if it's over a certain percentage, it's like if it's over 2%, over 1%, you put it at the tippy top. So you'll always see water and glycerin up there, alcohol if it's a professional product like a chemical peel. Those are always going to be at the top. However, what they do after that is totally up to them. And it's only after a certain percentage. And most at-home products aren't going to go super high in percentages outside of glycerin and water and things of that nature. So immediately after, they're going to put like peptides, lactic acid, ceramides, whatever they can, even if it's like no percentage at all, just because that's what you see first. And they've already caught on to the fact that you guys know that in the back, that's supposed to be the rule, but it's not highest to lowest all in order. It's just a couple that are the highest are at the front, and that's it. Nothing after that is a requirement. In either way, there's no regulation, only on sunscreen. So there's that as well, right? So yeah, you have to be really careful with ingredients, even in the US, because we don't share it. And I also have a problem with Korean skincare because I get this question a lot. They're like, can I still use Korean skincare with my clients, or can I do this? Well, my problem isn't Korean skincare. My problem is never a brand. It's just show me the product and so I can see the ingredients. But if it's in another language, and I always translate things. I go as far as I can with my clients. I don't just look at something and say, okay, yeah, go ahead. I find it strange that professionals would choose to buy something they don't know what's in it. That's where I have a hard time, because not all of the companies will translate all the ingredients. Not to mention, we don't know their rules on what they have to show. I mean, we could find out their particular state. Depends on where the product is manufactured. But if we don't have all the ingredients and you guys don't know what the ingredients are, every single ingredient, I find it weird that we're selling it. I don't find it weird that they're selling product and that they're successful. I find it weird that professionals are choosing to buy something when they don't even know what's inside of it. Which I guess is not that shocking because we do that every day. People are buying brands and they still don't know what ingredients are in the companies that they carry. But that one is like the most blatantly obvious, because some companies, I always will copy and paste the website or whatever they have, and then put it into a translator and see what I can come up with. Because I'll always go the extra mile for a client, for a professional, but you don't really know what's in all of your products, especially if it's in another language. And I find it weird that licensed professionals would choose to purchase product knowing that they know nothing inside of it. Well, then why are you giving it to people? Because even fragrance, toxic ingredients and dyes and sulfates by definition are irritating to all skin conditions. So yes, there's toxic ingredients that are cancer causing, but typically in professional skincare, you're not going to always see a cancer causing ingredient because typically we know better. We do the extra mile to make sure we're not selling something that's cancer causing. But listen, I can't speak for everybody, right? But what's most certainly very common is putting the toxic ingredients that rate high on the toxicity score for irritating the eyes, the skin, and the mouth. Well, if it's irritating everybody's eyes, skin, and mouth, just non-sensitive skin, why are you giving it to your clients after professional treatment? Also, why is the rosacea client, the acne imposter client, fungus client, bacteria client using that? Because they're really, really sensitive. I find that strange. Also, I find it very strange that there's fragrance in professional skincare at all. I mean, all those ingredients shouldn't be in there, but fragrance is like a real weird one for me. I don't understand it. I've never understood it. It makes no sense to me. Georgia said, she's one of our educators out of Oregon, and she said that was one of her biggest struggles, was trying to find fragrance-free professional skincare. And I find that so strange when companies say how amazing they are at skin conditions, but are filled with fragrance. It's like it's so clear what they're doing, because fragrance is only there for a superficial purpose then, right? It's not there because it's helping with anything.
The spa experience of the smell and the feels. And no.
Yes, exactly. All right. I think that was the last question, right? So now I have your, so give everyone we'll go through your skin tip, your entrepreneur tip, and then shout out of the day to another licensed professional. So let's start with your skin tip of the day.
Skin tip of the day: make sure that you are exfoliating appropriately and properly for this dry season that we are in. Mask, hydrate, water, drink water, all of the things. Just keep it easy. Don't irritate your skin.
Yes. Increase your hydrate masks. Also someone asked me, obviously we get asked this question a lot, like how many times can you do certain products in a day or in a week? Well, the HA peptide hydrator, you can do multiple times in a day. Now, the only time that you would really find that necessary is like after professional treatment, typically is when I say, hey, if you want to do it 3 times and you're not ready for your hydrate peptide mask stage of the week or whatever, you can do it multiple times. So you don't need to cleanse 3 times. You can just reapply it back onto that top layer of skin. Just know that all the products are safe to use throughout the day, multiple times a day, multiple times a week. But not cleansing 3 times a day would not be something I would ever recommend to somebody. We don't need to overly cleanse, then you would strip the oil barrier. And then what is your entrepreneur tip of the day?
I would say that would be find a way to take 5 minutes out of the day to just kind of wherever you are at that moment, because you need it more than you think. Yeah.
But
Like,
no, because we're estheticians.
right? Yeah, no, I mean, if it's getting up and walking out of your room, because sometimes we're in there all day and we don't think about how long we've been in there. So get up, walk around, get some steps in. We have very sedentary jobs sometimes, and so we need that. Our health is important, not just treating other people, but take care of yourself.
Yeah, that's a good one. I always do when they do aromatherapy, I do it. I always make that joke. Like when they do it, I do it. When they do red light, I do it. Red light's harder. You got to like tuck in there. But I definitely do essential whenever I do essential oils, like before microneedling, before a chemical peel, just to kind of calm everyone down. I think it's good practice. Whether you're at like a fluffy spa like atmosphere is irrelevant. If you want your client to trust you and to open up to you, you need to calm them down because they're showing you their skin without makeup. You're zooming in on their skin. It's very uncomfortable. And so you need to have them relax first. But when they do it, I do it. So they do it, I do it, they do it, I do it. I think that's really imperative. Also, it's such a great job we have in that aspect. Everything else is hard as an entrepreneur, but the aspect of doing a treatment on someone, I mean, truly it's that part's, I wouldn't say easy. If you're newer, obviously you're like, it doesn't feel easy to me, but it's easy. It's not hard work. It's quite a lovely job. And so do the essential oil with your client. And who are we shouting out today? What licensed professional are we shouting out today?
So we are going to shout out Skin Disciple in New York. I've known Michelle for many, many, many years. And when I say that she is always one of the people that I will, hey, what do you think about this? Or have you done this? Or have you tried that? That's the person I would go to and talk to. And Skin, yeah, bestie, bestie. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been through some things together. So yeah, definitely.
Trauma bonding is always good.
Definitely.
I saw this really funny thing on Instagram the other day where it said like, trauma bonding at like one of your jobs with like one of your like whatever other employees that you're with. And me and this one girl from European Wax Center always tag each other. One of the professionals that I worked with, we definitely trauma bonded regularly, just in between clients would like flip each other off and we're like, are you alive? But you have to find someone that you trust for sure, that you
Yeah.
can have in your life to ask those questions to, because especially if you're going to be a solo esthetician, even honestly, it's really isolating being an owner, having employees. It doesn't really matter. It's isolating regardless, because if you're the owner and you have employees, you're not on their level, right? You're not allowed to be like on the same wavelength in the sense of just the relationship is different, right? You have to obviously have a different type of relationship. So therefore, yes, you do get to talk more than a solo does to anyone, right? Back and forth to people, but it doesn't mean it hits the same. If I give advice to someone like Dawn versus an employee, Dawn takes it and is like stoked on it, and employee's like, we'll see. Let me learn the hard way.
Yeah.
So finding somebody that you can bounce ideas off of, especially if you're going to go solo and have your own business and not work with other people, is really important, because it's very isolating when you're by yourself. Also, it's hard to keep up and know what's going on. Because then it's all on you to do your education. And then if you choose not to, because you're just busy in the treatment room, then you're not doing a good job. I always say when I was a solo, and solos are doing an amazing job now. This is not a knock on any solo now. You guys are doing way more amazing things than I ever was, but I was doing not great things. I was not doing great skin at all. I had a lot of clients, made a lot of money, was not good at skin because it was very isolating. I did not learn professional stuff. I knew skincare and retail and ingredients at home really, really well, but the treatment aspect, especially chemical peels, right? The word is just very generic. So I didn't know about prepping. I didn't know about post care, which is why we have this company in the first place, is because I hurt a lot of people around 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013. So I apologize to all those people. But I learned a lot along the way. And I do think it's really important to find someone you can connect with to shout, to show like ideas to bounce ideas off of each other, things like that. So yes, make sure you guys follow her. What's her Instagram handle and what's yours again before we pop off?
So Skin Disciple is at Skin Disciple. She is in, like I said, New York, Michelle Miranda. And mine is at Synergy Skincare Spa. And I am in Austin, Texas. So yeah, come see me.
Yay. Well, thank you so much for doing our first YouTube live with us. Make sure you guys follow Dawn. For those that don't know, Webinar Wednesdays will still be going on. We will announce them soon, but they will be for licensed XF professionals only. And then YouTube live is for everybody. So clients, professionals, students, whatever, everybody can come. And we will always talk about skin and business and kind of do a mixture of everything. So everybody in the audience gets something out of it. And thank you so much for taking the time for being with us today and joining on our first YouTube live.
Yes. Thanks, everybody. See y'all soon.
Everybody. Bye. Have a good day.
Bye, Julie. You too.